Alright, guys, welcome to the second episode of the Anything But Everything podcast. I am your host, Sean. Thank you so much for tuning in. I trust that some of you who are tuning in are wondering what exactly this podcast is all about. Let me tell you that right now. There's also a video in the description below. Go ahead and check that out, and it'll tell you exactly what the podcast is all about in great detail. But the short end of it, guys, we live at a time where, everyone is going through a struggle, whether it's day to day or on a yearly basis. And sometimes when we go through these struggles, these hardships, we suffer from things such as anxiety, stress, depression, anxiousness, nervousness, panic attacks, shortness of breath. And, sometimes we don't have necessarily somebody to talk to, or, we don't have any way to kind of cope with that issue. And my focus is to have a podcast where we can provide a platform for anybody, who may have a similar problem. I'll have guests come in and talk about, how they kind of coped, throughout the good times, the bad times. And hopefully it might be, a closure or a comfort zone to anybody who listens. So on the second episode, I have, my first ever guest on the Anything But Everything podcast. He's a very good friend of mine. His dad and my dad, were friends, and, we met, and, he came here all the way from Germany to America roughly about, 10 years ago, and he's here, and, Omid, how you doing? Welcome to the Anything But Everything podcast.
Hey, good, Sean. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. As I said before, a lot of times, when we go through hardships, a lot of people out there, they suffer from, anxiety and stress. What's your take on all this? Because I feel like we live at a time where, just now over the last couple of years, all of this is getting addressed, whereas opposed to prior generations where it really wasn't something that you would talk about. So what's your take on it?
Yeah, I believe you're right. These days, especially on social media, more and more people become open-minded about sharing their thoughts and feelings about their anxiety, their, if you want to call it so, depression, anxiousness, or fears. And we all have them. I had them. I have them still today sometimes. I think it's normal. I think it's a part of life. There's a reason why we feel the way we feel. Through evolution, we develop these skills because of a purpose. Now, we can abuse it and live by it on a day-to-day basis, or we can learn how to balance it and also look at positive.
Now, I feel like when it comes to the balancing, that's kind of where the issue comes in, because sometimes, whether it's the stress or the anxiety, sometimes it overtakes, a certain individual and they're not able to cope with it. And, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like one of the first steps is that people don't open up. They keep everything inside, everything sort of builds up, it kind of bottles up, and then, you go through a panic attack or something, and, there really is no release there. So,
well, it is very hard for people to open up, in my opinion.
What do you think people can do to work on that if someone is having a hard time?
There's nothing to work on. You need to live in an environment that you or have a surrounding of people that you can actually trust and believe in. If you don't have that and you live just based on insecurities, which we all have our insecurities, but
of course. I think you kind of answered the question from the get-go, is that you kind of have to pick and choose who you're trusting and who you decide to open up to.
Not pick and choose. Kind of pick and choose, because with who do you hang out with on a daily basis? Who is your support person or support team? And if you do have a support team or a support system, let it be your family, your friend, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, or a group of friends, you will be able to talk about your problems, or about your insecurities, or about your fear, and they are able to pick you up. Right? And if you don't have that, you got to learn to pick you up yourself.
I feel like one of the most common issues is that, some people say, if I open up, I'm going to get laughed at. No one is going to be able to relate. People are going to look at me like I'm crazy. But then I feel like the more that you open up, the more you find like, wow, I have so much common, experience that other people have had as well, that when you start talking, all of a sudden it's like, it's almost absolute parallels.
Are you talking about opening up about your fears? Opening up about what exactly?
About, the struggles, something that's maybe giving you anxiety, or maybe if you're feeling depressed and something's going on, you don't know how to cope with it. You're thinking, I'm not going to tell anybody because no one's going to be able to, relate to me and understand where I'm coming from.
I think the first question you should ask yourself is, why am I depressed? Before you tell anyone else, I mean, you can tell someone else that you trust and you believe, you feel comfortable with, and they can listen to you, but that's the best they can do. They don't know why you're feeling the way you feel because it's deep inside you, and you have to first speak with yourself. I take it as, I believe in every person has two, it's a part of two.
Right.
I believe there's Omid 1 and Omid 2. Let's say subconscious and conscious, right? And you need to be able to have a dialogue with yourself. Why do I feel the way I feel? And when you understand and when you found the reasoning behind it and you believe in it, then you will become open-minded to talk about it because you have something to pinpoint why maybe you feel that way.
Right.
And I'm not saying it just find a reason, because a lot of people I notice also just find excuses of why they feel the way they feel. I'm talking about deep down. Where is it coming from? Find the connections.
So, I think, yeah, that's absolutely a really good step, is first kind of coming into terms with yourself before you can open up to other people.
I mean, open up to other people if you want to. But at the end of the day, they will not be able to tell you why you feel the way you feel. They can help you, make you feel better at that moment, but they cannot take it away from you deep down, your feelings of what the issue actually is. Yeah.
So, I mean, I know that you obviously, just like any other person, have certainly gone through experiences that has, made you go through stress or depression or anxieties. But if you can pick out just one experience that you feel like, I went through a lot of bad times, but at the very end, I learned something about myself. It was definitely worth it. And here's what I did, to kind of, to hang on and, until the very end. What would that experience be?
Well, I think my whole entire life.
Well, if we can
narrow it down. I mean, when I moved from, I grew up in Germany, so when I moved to LA, it was a big step for me because I did not speak the language, and I came here with an American dream. And my childhood was also not I didn't have an amazing supportive system. And I had to kind of learn very quickly in my life to adjust based on of my environment, but also do it myself.
Right.
Do it myself. And I think one of the hardest times was actually not moving to LA. It was a hard time. I'm here now for 10 years, and I had a lot of ups and downs. Some days very, very bad. With very bad, I mean, how can I explain it for you to envision it? Very bad in terms of like, nothing is working out the way you want it. You don't speak the language. You don't understand the culture. You listen to jokes. Everyone laughs, and you cannot laugh. So many barriers, so many obstacles. Not being able to get your driver's license, having bills that you cannot pay. The list goes on. I think a lot of people can relate to it.
Definitely.
But my hardest part in life, even though if I didn't feel about it that time, but now thinking back, I realize it was pretty much in my childhood and the way I grew up and everything that I had to go through. And I'm talking about like being a kid from like 3-4 years old up to like 23, 24 when I moved to the States. Were very tough on me. I was an outsider. I was first generation immigrant in Germany with my parents, and my family. There was a lot of struggle, and then outside of that, I didn't have a big support system. I was always on my own. Stereotypes, racism, not getting the same opportunities like everyone else gets, not have enough money, have to prove myself in everything I do. Everything I have to do is like I I have to go 10 times as hard as a normal person that is just
get your point
German
across.
to get my point across or to get to my goal.
So if, that's very powerful what you were explaining, from all the times, from your childhood, but what was the one thing that really just made it hard, and what was the one thing that made you surpass that, get past that?
That's a serious question. I have to for a moment think about it. But I think the hardest time that I consciously had to work with was I started a project. I'm self-employed, as you know. I'm an entrepreneur. I have my own business, and I will consistently look for new opportunities to gain economical advantages, right, or benefits. And one of my projects I started back in 2013 for 2.5 years was a startup. It was in the music industry. It was just online streaming. And I got my camera. I got like a camera crew. I shot like shows and all this stuff. And all my hard-earned money that I made with my other business, all of my savings, I invested in that.
Right.
And when I got to a point, long story short, I realized my startup is not working out. And I lost all my savings I worked hard for the last 8 years.
Wow.
That was a big hit.
I could imagine.
Yeah, I felt very depressed, very down. But I was taking on a network. And I'm very ambitious, but when that happened, I really doubted myself.
So, you invest all your time and your money to this one project, then the train gets off the tracks, you start doubting yourself, and so what's that point of where, what did you do? Did you feel like, okay, it's a hurdle, or...
Well, one important thing is, when you're rolling, and you're rolling good, all of it, you have a lot of people around you. People out there to help you, to work with you, because they have something out of it.
Yeah.
As soon as you are not rolling, people disappear around.
Yeah.
When you're alone and you have nothing except yourself, and you lost everything else that you worked hard for very many, many years, the only thing you can do is pretty much hope, meditate, get yourself together, and believe in yourself. There's no girlfriend or boyfriend that can really help you. I mean, there is, but for me, there was none. It was more like I had to get myself out of it.
Right. So, I mean, it's very powerful stuff, and I feel like a lot of people, they kind of come to that moment where they're living life, and then something doesn't come to fruition, or something doesn't go your way, it kind of throws you off the tracks, and it's kind of up to you to kind of really, kind of build yourself back up. I mean, you can sometimes lean on other people to kind of get advice and kind of pick yourself up, but at the end of the day, it's got to be you who's, putting the work into it.
Yeah, and it also depends on what kind of circumstance in life you are. At that time, I had a lot of things going on that were not working my way. For a good couple of years, everything was going great for me. I was making good money. I was having this project start up. My other business was paying all my bills and getting me so much extra money. I had a crew of 40, 50 people working for me. That was amazing. It was an amazing feeling. I felt very powerful. Powerful in the sense of not flashing and powerful,
Right.
but powerful
Yeah.
in a way of like, hey, I feel almost secure. Even though there was so much going on, I felt secure because I was busy.
Yeah.
I had a purpose. And when that goes away, and all of a sudden a lot of other problems hit in. My business was not doing as well anymore. The industry changed. So there was a huge decrease in the demand of my services that I provide.
Right.
And all of a sudden, all my savings gone. I don't make as much money anymore. And nothing else is going on very well.
So it's kind of you build up from
Yeah,
ground zero.
and we all know that when something goes wrong, sometimes a lot of things at the same time goes wrong.
Exactly.
The shit hits the fan, and you're like, "Oh my god, what am I gonna
What do we
do?"
do now?
And that's the first time I realized these moments, especially when you get to an age of like early 30s or mid 30s, it can pretty much break your back.
Yeah.
Because every decision at that point that you're going to make, it's going to really determine your next 5 to 10 years, not
Right.
just 1-2
Yeah.
years.
So now, if you could give one piece of advice to anybody out there who's
Mm.
maybe gone through an experience where, you know what, that, the experience that they were going through, something went wrong and other
Mm.
things kind of went wrong, and it was all kind of at the same time, and now they're having a hard time picking themselves back up. What would be the number one thing that you would recommend to all those people out there?
For me personally, I have, for some people, happiness is hanging out with their friends, with their family, with their loved ones. For me, it is more about feeling secure financially and have being busy of doing something of value for myself and for other people. I like helping other people. I like being an asset in my community.
Right.
And for me, what helped me is when nothing is working out for you, you got to make something work for you, even if it's the most tiniest thing. There's a Japanese system or idea, and I forgot the guy that discovered that or came up with it. Every day for 1 minute, do something as a goal. For me, as an example, it could be push-ups, right? Just a minute. Every day, do it for a minute on a specific time and do it for a couple of weeks. This is a very tiny success. It's not much. It doesn't make up for the 40 people that I lost working for me,
Yeah.
or for all that money that I lost. But it gives you a sense of success. It gives you a sense of like, oh, go to the gym, play the guitar, start a new business if you want to, but stay consistent,
Right.
right? So make yourself, again, small goals that get you easy successes or short-term successes that empower you to believe in yourself again and believe in the cause that you have for yourself.
Awesome. Awesome. Very inspirational stuff. Couldn't agree more. Well, guys, that just about wraps it up for the first episode of the Anything But Everything podcast. We hope that you guys were able to take away something from today's episode. If you guys have any questions for Omid, go ahead and write it down in the comments section below. Episode 3 will be coming up sometime very, very soon. We thank everybody who tuned in, and until next time, we'll see you.